Again, so this next video, or this last video, it's just one slide. It's going to be super easy. We're just going to kind of close things up by talking about what are the key differences between these things. This is going to be really imprecise, so work with me on this here for just a second. Let's say democracy is right here. Let's say authoritarianism is over here. Now, do you remember what the big difference is between these two things? It's the institutional checks on power, right? Checks. That's going to be a big difference. Now, if I put totalitarianism right here, I don't want to pretend that it's somewhere in between, though it is. There's some things that are similar about both of these things. For example, what authoritarianism and totalitarianism have in common is there's really a lack of limits, lack of institutional checks on power. But the big difference is this one is because of demobilization. Don't write all this stuff down. I'm thinking as I'm writing this. And this one's because of mobilization, getting people out there. But now think about this. Democracy is all about mobilization too. You're trying to get people out in the street. So if there's something that we have in common over here, it's mobilization of people. So what we can see is pretty easily that even though democracy is not authoritarianism, is not totalitarianism, is that there is the ability to sort of move on these things. If democracy starts losing its institutional checks, like there's no longer separation of powers, or separation of powers is weakened somehow, or things like that, we can start to see democracy starting to move towards authoritarianism. If people are super mobilized, but they're mobilized in such a way that they are talking about removing institutional checks, we can see things moving towards totalitarianism. So what I don't want to say is democracy is a thing and then there's everything else. These are all sliding scales. So we're going to talk about, like, very quickly here, totalitarianism requires popular mobilization, whereas authoritarianism requires popular demobilization. That's a clear difference. That being said, there is movement between those things. There is no perfect democracy, perfect totalitarianism. Democracies can drift into totalitarianism. I can't even say it right. Democracies can drift into dictatorships. Democracy, there has to be an institutional check on the leader's power. That's the thing that makes it very different than these other two. And what that usually means is these two things: free and fair elections with choices. When we stop having those, this becomes more in question, and rule of law, meaning that the people who are in charge are limited by law. Again, if we start losing these things, we start to drift into these areas over here. So I got an assignment for you guys, a discussion, which I'm hoping the discussion page will work. If it doesn't, my bad. But I really want you guys to both reply or to put something in and then to reply to other people in the class. And I want you to say, which of these systems do you think is the best and why? Now, I know you're going to say, oh, democracy, but I really want you to think about this. Like, what do you think why do you think these are good systems? Are there, yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it on. I'll just look at the discussion page. Ignore me what I just said. Okay, see ya.